Well, hello, everybody. Hope you're all doing fantastically well after that. A chaotic game at the top of the division, a chaotic game when it comes to Leeds at this moment in time and what we've been involved in at the minute. You know, Millwall, Portsmouth, Sheffield United, Sunderland, West Brom. It just doesn't feel like at this moment in time Leeds are involved in any sort of non-dramatic game, and obviously this afternoon was definitely that. Emotions everywhere in this game, and we're back with the fan forum, and the title is obviously Leeds need to pick up. Now it's going to be interesting with this one. You guys let us know what you think in the comment section below. A lot of you guys completely understand Swampy's new member. Shout out to you, Swampy. And there's a lot of people who are interested in the conversation is interesting here, because I've got a feeling that the people in the back, we've got Gabe with us, we've got Tom with us, and we've got Matt with us as well. I think maybe there's going to be a little bit of discourse in terms of certain things not being good enough, certain things needing to improve. But I want to get your thoughts in the comment section below as well before we start this. I reckon this is a valuable point in the title race, says Jamie Slack. Good grief, this Leeds squad in the Prem, Connor. Stay where you are is my advice. Ted says Leeds might hold on for promotion if Aronson doesn't play again. Hello, guys. Time to stay calm. Helen says we've lost one match in 20. James says we never do it the easy way. And Emmett says we need to get back on track. Our latest form is worrying. LWD, and we need some WWW or we will drop down to third place. It's all so tight. Do we want it? Can we handle it? James also said, I believe Leeds United, Burnley will get over 90 points. Goal difference made is either top two. Start a team with fresh intensity rather than favouritism and fatigue. The two Fs there, mate. Free, Nonso and Ramazani. Without any further ado, I'm going to welcome my guest for this one. Tom, you might need to spin that camera around, mate. This is a bit of a unique panel as well. Tom, Gabe, Tom, Gabe, Matt, Gabe. Welcome, gentlemen, to this one. Right, okay, where do we start? Matt, I feel like you're going to maybe be the most tepid out of the bunch today, but who knows? What was your? How do you take that, mate? Obviously, Leeds drawing. Was it a good point or two dropped for you?
Two dropped. I'm just a bit disappointed today because my mindset now is about winning the games to the end of the season. What I will say though is positive to start is there's resilience there. 2-0 down, not playing well. The fact that we actually got back into it. Got it 2-2. I just think then we didn't give ourselves enough time to actually go on then and win. First 15 to 20 minutes were good. And I thought again, let's go for it. Let's finish this 12:30 thing that's bugging us to kick off. But it soon just became really poor again and a bit slow. And I think some of our key people were off it, including Brendan, and Rothwell. Actually, I was pleased he started. I was a bit shocked about that, but I don't think he had his best game, and our midfield didn't with Tanaka either. So I was a bit disappointed today, and I do think it's 2 points dropped just because of our recent form. And I think I'm resigned, Con, now that I don't think we're actually going to pull away. I think it's actually going to go to the wire, which I didn't want to happen. I didn't want the players to have that pressure either. But I think it's just too up and down. And I think we know this point last year, we started to falter again. I'm hoping it's not that, but that's why I'm a little bit about Farke changing it up and freshening it up with some of the players that are tired, because this happened last time. And I appreciate he's got his favourites and his starting lineup, but that doesn't mean, it shouldn't stop him from changing it to see us over the line this time. We've just got to learn from last year. So yeah, I'm disappointed, mate. I think it's 2 points dropped. So I'm a bit gutted.
Tom, same question to you, mate.
To be fair, after 30 minutes, I was just thinking it's going to be a repeat of last season all over again. We started well, first 15, knocking the ball about, and then Brendan Aronson just undid all of that hard work as we sort of worked our way into the game. And I think after the 30 minutes, it would have been easy for us to just down tools and go and let the crowd and let QPR sort of take over from us. But I thought that goal before half time was vital. And I thought it was a really ballsy move by Farker, to be fair, to make a sub at half time, because I don't think he's ever done that as Leeds manager. I genuinely don't think he's ever made a change at half time.
Fewer than 5 times.
And it was massively needed as well. I just think after we got the second goal, we sort of seemed to just sort of like take our foot off the gas a little bit. We didn't seem to sort of really go for it again. And then the minutes kept dwindling down. I genuinely probably thought that taking Solomon off was a bad idea and bringing Ramazani on. I know people beg for Ramazani to come on, but I'd have kept Solomon on. I thought it was causing problems on that left-hand side, especially with Jimmy Dunn on a yellow card as well. He was obviously not going to dive into him. And I don't think Ramazani really got any sort of joy down that left-hand side. I know he had 10 minutes and stuff, but I'd have probably left Solomon on, and he was definitely frustrated when he came off, and probably rightly so.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, lads, and look, context applied, right? Top of the table, 80 points. That's the context. This doesn't want to be shrouded in negativity, but I do want to look at the overarching point here. And what I would say to people who maybe are coming in expecting maybe us to just, positive bash this, is going to be maybe a little bit more of a look into and a little bit more into a deep dive of what's going on at this moment in time. It's not been a great sort of 5 games. That's by our standards, our expectations that we've set, and being the best team in this division. We've set a standard right now. And I think naturally there's maybe a discussion to be had of us looking back at last season. We just listened to Matt there. Tom, I know you've just spoken a little bit more about this game. But I do think when it comes to Daniel Farke now, that rotation is unequivocally it is needed right now. There needs to be a look, in my opinion. I've been saying it on the channel now for maybe a couple of weeks when I've been looking at it. There's been certain players I felt in particular who are just struggling a little bit at this moment in time. They're maybe not at the level, their intensity's dropped, just basing that on fatigue and how intense this is week in, week out. Our rivals are rotating maybe a little bit more in terms of starters. And I think, you're looking at the points that have been dropped in 3 or 4 games, and it might have been 5 or 6 if it obviously wasn't for the last 2-minute winners. I think it's becoming as clear as day in certain instances that we're getting maybe 2 or 3 players per game who are maybe flagging a little bit, and that is my maybe overarching worry here. It's not that anything bad's going to happen and we're going to fall out of it, but I just think we need to give ourselves the best chance. And Gabe, me and you were just talking a little bit earlier, and you don't want it to the overall picture. Leeds top of the league, we're on 80 points. Sheffield United could drop tomorrow, but we still do have those 8 games left now after the international break. This international break feels absolutely needed right now. Leeds need to recuperate, and we need to recover, mate, and Daniel Farke needs to rotate as well.
Yeah. The question for me, and I know we'll get into it, and look, the background, usually I try to clean up my space a little bit, but you can see anxiety medication back there, something for the stomach as well. I'm trying to order my thoughts in a way that makes sense. I'm so irritated that we're at this point in the season and that we're getting mixed results, poor results against the 15th and 17th ranked team in the division who haven't been doing much of anything. And suddenly we're on a stream trying to cradle and rock ourselves into feeling like it's okay, and that we haven't seen the exact same Groundhog Day-esque experience happen as last season, where you went on this incredible run and Farke refuses to make changes when teams change for him. Ask any Norwich fan. They'll tell you he was one of the best managers they've had in the modern era, but they'll also say a couple things. Incredibly stubborn, doesn't make changes, and when things go wrong, starts to backtrack and retroactively change his narrative about what happened during transfer seasons. The transfer windows, which we've already heard him hint over the last couple of weeks, despite over January defending Brendan Aronson. He chose him as his number 10. So now all of a sudden he needs a specialty 10. I love that. Listen, I'm really pissed off. I'm irritated. We shouldn't be dropping results to Portsmouth and QPR. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. We should not be in a 3-horse race for top 2 against these other teams. And the reality is, every player is going to have a bad game here and there. This week it was Aronson, unequivocally worst player on the pitch for me. Inexcusable. Not good. and he hasn't been good over the past 6-7 weeks, although I thought he was good against Millwall. That's the exception. But we can point out other players here and there. The reality is you hire the manager to manage the team. And if anybody on this panel can tell me a time where we've dropped points where you didn't know that we were going to drop points within the first 20 minutes, like at what point did with the exception of the Sunderland match when the first one when Meslier fumbled it, has there ever been a dropped result where we thought, hey, this really caught me by surprise? No, we knew within the first 20 minutes what kind of match we were in. Seems like the last one to figure it out was the manager. I'm absolutely fuming. I just don't think it makes any sense. And I'm sitting here looking like it's the same exact thing. These managers figure out how to outfox Daniel Farke, and he's too stubborn to make changes. 2 substitutes the entire match with that bench. It's unacceptable for me. So yes, taking a step back, we could kumbaya ourselves, and we probably will get promoted just because the rest of this division stinks. But am I happy? Absolutely not. Is this acceptable? Absolutely not. And I'm not going to be gaslit by Daniel Farke or some other fans in the network that want to tell us that everything's absolutely fine. It's totally acceptable to be losing against Portsmouth and drawing to QPR. No way. I'm in a great mood, guys. Nice to meet you, Matt. Nice to meet you, Tom.
Yeah, anyone want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I just think like Gabe said there, the division is there for the taking, and we are making a massive meal of this, a really massive meal. Like, everyone has us down as the favourites to go up. The squad is that our bench alone would walk into the majority of the top 10 without any question. And don't get me wrong, I know that teams, they lift their game to play Leeds, but we have to be ready for that. What did we expect at Portsmouth? 12:30 kickoff last week. We were going to be got at the first 10-15 minutes, and it was there again today. You've got to be solid. You've got to make it through that first half an hour, 45 minutes, and then if you need to then come into the game second half, then we do that. But we're giving ourselves no chance sometimes, and like Gabe said there, the lack of substitutions is sort of really worrying. It's almost as if he doesn't trust the squad. He's happy with the 11 and then just doesn't. I mean, Dan James looks dead on his feet, and he did again today. Like, his final ball wasn't good. Don't get me wrong, those bursts of speed, he's always going to have that, but I think mentally he's probably tired, and this international break could have come at probably the best possible time for us, but not in the fact that Tanaka has to travel 1,000 miles and Firpo has to do the same. But we're almost relying on our fullbacks here, by the way, to pull results out for us. Bogle and Firpo, assists, goals, last sort of 4 or 5 games, it's been other people need to step up to the plate here, because we are going to limp over the line.
Tom, Matt, can you answer this for me? Here's the big question I have. If we're talking about how much better than we are than these other teams in and around us, and how we've only lost X amount of games, Burnley have lost fewer. I mean, does anybody want Scott Parker to be our manager? No, right? Not good enough. Then why do we refuse as a fan base to criticize Daniel Farke for dropping results against winnable games a couple seasons in a row, when we'll all say, everybody in the Leeds fan base agrees this team is better than any of those other teams on paper? That it's the manager's job to manage the team. I don't understand it. We have the deepest team in the division. We're not using the players on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I said this on the stream before. Like, this is why I think Farke. I think he's not going to take us, or we're not going to do well in the Premier League if we get promoted with him. I think it's these things and this stubbornness that where he doesn't change things up, he's not going to help us going forward. I think we will limp over the line at some point, but I think the focus or the pressure now is going to start being on Farke because of these results recently, and he's got to be questioned in terms of the stubbornness, learning from last year, which is why I think, if he gets us to the Premier League, he's not the man to take us forward, because I just don't think he's got the tools. I just don't think he's got the awareness. And I'm really kind of baffled by this flogging these players to death almost before making any changes.
Yeah.
And the only good thing he did to do was what we've said, is he brought Nonto on for Aronson, which I was really shocked at. Tom mentioned that, and Nonto was absolutely fantastic. If there's ever an example to show you how things can be changed up by replacing a player earlier to give us an extra edge, Nonto got us back into that game.
I thought, but Matt, what confuses me is I thought wingers can't play in the 10. That's what confuses me.
Well, Farker's right, isn't he? No, so I mean, the way Nonto played and the ball through for that first one,
he was excellent, wasn't he?
He was superb. I mean, that's back to Nonto from before.
Yeah.
Before, so I hope he just gets back into the team now. But I don't know. I've got this dreaded feeling as well that Farker's stubbornness is going to cost us when we get to that serious bit. And the fact that he won't learn from last year, come on, it's really obvious to everybody. But I know he's his own man. He likes to be proved right. Obviously, he is a manager. But I'm a little bit worried it's gonna catch us out again.
I challenge anybody to answer the question for those of us, those pushing back in the comments. If our team is so good and you trust this manager so much, you want to go to the playoffs?
Well, Leeds in the playoffs, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't believe in superstition. We're a better team than any other team we face in the playoffs. And if our manager's so damn good, then we should be able to win promotion, right? We're that confident? Didn't think so. Nobody wants to do it. What does that tell you? It tells you we have a manager that is good at establishing a culture and an infrastructure and is so damn stubborn when things aren't working. It's amazing. He's done it less than 5 times all season. He may have done it less than 5. I haven't counted last season how many times he made changes at halftime, but it's crazy that Aronson can have a half as bad as he had and has had a run of form with the exception of Millwall last week, as poor as he's had, and us being shocked that he got yanked at halftime, given the options on the bench. Because it's not like we have poor players on coming off the bench. If it was like Jamie Shackleton coming in at the number 10, then I'd be like, all right, maybe you've got a point. Maybe you persist. But it shouldn't be shocking to us that we utilize a bench that is one of the deepest in the division. And it's just sort of, it's like wrangling cats or in my brain trying to figure out how we can justify this manager's mismanagement of the team and try to tell ourselves that getting a point against QPR at this stage in the season when we should be going from strength to strength is a good thing. It's not a good thing.
Well, I think the big thing is, I think the maybe the disappointing thing today, and what I would say in terms of, from my perspective, why it's 2 points dropped. I was quite enthused about this. You're kind of looking at QPR, 4 losses on the bounce. You're looking at it again and thinking Portsmouth didn't really have anything to play for. QPR have got nothing to play for, really. And it is disappointing in terms of performance levels. I think that we've dropped. And I guess, Tom, the slightly concerning thing for me is you can go kind of all the way back. And I think Sunderland and Sheffield United in context, I mean, we were at that Sheffield United game, but in context, I mean, I think I turned around to you and Rick and I said, if we get out of this first half, not 2 down at Sheffield United, I'll be more than happy, because obviously it seems to be, and even against West Bromwich Albion, you know, it's not our full flowing best from the start, is it? It feels like there's a little bit of, I don't know what it is, Portsmouth, the intensity from the start wasn't really there. And it feels like it's filtered into this game as well, where QPR started like a house on fire, really, and Leeds really took the time. I mean, someone put a stat in a group chat earlier and said Leeds have had 10 3 p.m. kickoffs out of 38. Which is a staggering statistic, really. But it feels like you've got to acclimatise that, Tom, haven't you? Because that's the card you dealt with, being the biggest club in the division. It is what it is.
Yeah, 100%. And the worrying thing is we've got another couple coming up as well, which is I think is Luton at 12:30. I'm pretty sure that's on 12:30 as well.
And Preston's been moved to 12:30.
Preston, sorry, yeah. But yeah, I mean, every other team manages to acclimatise to it. We've got the best team in the division, and we can't seem to do it. I just really don't understand. I mean,
thank you, Tom. Thank you. We say every team plays us like a cup final. Why can't we get motivated to play teams?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we could have had this if we turned up like it was our cup final. Then we could have been home and dry by now. I mean, one thing that really annoyed me today, and he seems to get away with it because he's been made captain. Pascal was awful today. Awful. He got absolutely bullied by Frey up top today. Don't get me wrong, he's a beast of a striker, and he put his arms and his head in where a defender doesn't like to defend against, kind of thing. But his distribution, his passes back to Meslier were bouncing, they were up in the air. The time where you need your captain to just stick his foot on the ball and just calm things down again, very much like Ampadu would, he was just not doing that. Like, it was putting us under so much unnecessary pressure. I think there was a time in the second half where a ball had come back, a quick free kick, and instead of just playing the ball back to Meslier, he just punted a hopeless ball into the touchline. Like, it's like, you're our captain. You're meant to steady us down. You're meant to sort of settle us down to go again, kind of thing. Pascal's been awful for the last few games.
Tom, I also thought that, I thought down the flanks, actually, the quality of delivery that Leeds United were putting in was actually really good. I thought Solomon on that left-hand side, not cutting inside all the time, but getting on that left-hand side, whipping the ball with his left foot. I thought on the other side as well, Bogle put some delicious balls in, and you're thinking, and even in the 6-yard box, there was so many opportunities for just a 9 to get the head on it. And I did think at some point, come on, Daniel, let's just stick Joseph on there, who, look, I'm not saying is this unbelievable striker. I'm not saying that, but at least he's going to be the sharp head of that sort of last line. And obviously Peru naturally likes to drift back a little bit.
And it's something different, Connor. It's giving them something different, something when a team adjusts to what you've been doing all season, teams with less talent. How many times do we have to say that what teams will do is, by the way, Tom, I love that it keeps doing these thumbs up. It's actually the one nice humorous thing happening today.
I don't think Tom can see it. Have you seen the thumbs up you're giving all the time?
I can see the thumbs up going. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I don't know how you get rid of that, to be fair.
Nor do I.
Look, the blueprint to play Leeds is easy. Make it difficult for them. Turn it into a war of attrition. Turn it into an aerial battle and be physical with the center halves and just try to muck things up around the box. The fact is that Farke just thinks that his system is like Novocaine. Just give it a shot and give it time to work, and you don't really need to make any changes. When teams adjust to you, you have to make an adjustment to their adjustment. It's something he never does or scarcely does. And when he does do it, sometimes it's too late. Drives me nuts. I will be the last person on this channel talking about how I think Mateo Joseph is the answer. But when you're having a difficult time, you should make changes to give the defense something different to look at. It's like basic football management 101. And it's not that Farke doesn't know this. I've said a couple of times, he's forgotten more about football than I'll ever know. It's that he's stubborn. It's that for him, it's like an admission that he didn't get it right to start, and he just won't do it. It drives me absolutely up a wall, and we've suffered because of it.
The amount of balls that were stuck into the 6-yard box today that Pirro was nowhere near.
No.
Like, it's so many times. I think there was a ball that Bogle put in, actually, and I think it was Jimmy Dunn backheeled the ball onto the 6-yard box, and we had nobody within 5 yards of that ball, and you're just dying for a number 9 to just run onto that and just tap it into an empty net. But Pirro was well off it today, I thought. Again, I thought he had a good game against Millwall. His link-up play was really good, but he lashed at a few things today. He wasn't quite as involved as he has been in recent weeks, and I think, like you say, we're just needing that little change where we just give the centre half something different to think about. And it was too late in the day to bring Joseph on, kind of thing, when it got to that stage. And I'd sort of accepted that it was going to be 2-2 until we got that corner in the 96th minute, and Rothwell hit the first man, and Ramazani managed to allow us to be a 2-on-2 in the 97th minute.
I'll tell you what, Rothwell's balls in were
awful,
poor, really poor.
So poor.
Matt, bringing you, mate. I wanted to ask you a specific question. Me and you have spoken about it before. Well, actually, no.
He doesn't want to ask you that.
No, I don't want to. I want to ask you something else first. Who right now do you think is more important in our midfield when we're looking to attack? Do you think it's Tanaka or Rothwell?
Attacking Rothwell.
I'm looking at a scenario now. Brownie brought something up last night, and I thought it was a really good point. I'm looking at that game today, and I think it's another game in which Tanaka struggled. And obviously, look, brilliant goal midweek, of course. And we're looking at the little bits here. But it's interesting because the manager was talking about Gruev after the game. He was talking about Gruev. So I'm expecting Leeds to go forward in these next 8 games. And if Ampadu's not about, I think Gruev is going to be brought in as almost a change and managing certain defensive situations. Matt, I think there's a real question right now to Rothwell being above Tanaka in the pecking order. I genuinely do. I think Rothwell is probably the man who, when he's been performing over the last sort of month, 5 weeks, I think he's been better than Tanaka.
Yeah, I mean, what I always point this out when I'm watching the game with my kids as well. I'm just like, watch Rothwell when he gets the ball. It is always forward. It's hardly ever sideways, actually, either. It's always looking to get that pass forward. I think I mean, I've said before, I think he's someone we should sign when we get promoted, hopefully. But he is the guy that has come in and works really well within the team. Tanaka, yeah, don't get me wrong, though. The combination of those two in general have been very good, and they have got us to where we have today. Tanaka has been off it the last couple of games, did score a great goal, like you said. What summed Tanaka up for me today was, I don't know if you remember the second half where he had this chance where he could have to shoot, and I was thinking it was like the goal he scored in the previous game, and he kind of tripped over his feet and the ball or something. I don't know what happened. He landed on his backside, and I thought, unfortunately, that was summing Tanaka up at the moment.
There's a couple. I thought there was a couple of counter attacks as well that came from him as well, mate. I thought he got robbed twice in that midfield, and that's definitely happened in the last month, which is quite unlike Tanaka. I just thought Rothwell was the one trying to dictate play a little bit today. That was reflected on the match ratings that was provided for us by the company that we're working with now on the watch-alongs. I wondered if it was Tanaka or Rothwell that was the higher rated one. It was Rothwell, and I did think that.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's also partly why I was a bit disappointed today, because I thought he was going to start with Gruev as usual. But the fact Rothwell started with Tanaka, I was thinking, yeah, this is it. Another shot like the half-time thing. But yeah, it didn't work for some reason. They were particularly Tanaka was off it. Rothwell was okay, but he wasn't his best today. But in general, he is the guy to start going forward with us, and hopefully he continues to start.
If only we had midfield subs we could make in a game where things aren't going well.
One thing that gets me as well today, sorry, to a slightly different point, Call, was how many times, though, have we played teams that are on crappy losing runs?
Oh, no.
Haven't won in 4, haven't won in 6. And then we're, near top of the league. And then we're coming along thinking, yeah, we're just going to do these, and then we just lose or get a draw.
And then you have like Coventry and Sheffield United who are on good runs, and we go there and we beat them.
Yeah, it's just so and there's no way anyone could tell me that those last 2 games we've played with Portsmouth and QPR that you would say, yeah, Burnley and Sheffield United wouldn't beat them. Well, there's this thing with us. There's this thing, isn't there, with us where we might struggle. And sorry, you got me on it now. Another point, separate. I know we've got Farker, but separate to that today, I was also thinking, what's the mentality of some of these players wearing the Leeds shirt? There isn't that fight, that aggression. We talk about starting fast, quicks, but particularly against lesser opposition. Do we have anyone? And Ampadu's out. I know he brings some of that, but is our mentality just a little bit weak when the pressure's on? Or because these teams are physical with us that start it, and they seem to know we can't handle that. So that's not Farker.
I do think it's a little bit Farker, though, Matt. I do think that the attitude of the players comes from the leadership of the club. I really do. And you do have leaders in the changing room. You have Joe. Maybe he's a little bit of a whiner sometimes, but Joe Rodon's one of those players who's not going to get pushed around. You do have players in the team that do add some bite. And you have guys, on the bench with loads of experience as well. In the changing room, I'm sure they're good with getting the players motivated. And look, if you can't get motivated to play this game at the highest level against garbage opponents, I just don't have time for you. They
just wouldn't be your friend.
I'm just saying, and the manager's riding with these guys. For me, I don't think Dan James has a mentality problem. I know you didn't single him out, so I'm not saying you're saying that. But for me, Dan James is just knackered. I don't think Brendan Aronson has a mentality problem. I think that he needs to be rotated and should have been rotated weeks ago. I don't think that Solomon does either. I mean, this is a guy who's played at the highest level. I just think, I'm sorry, I know it sounds like I'm just scapegoating the manager, but we do this thing in the fan base sometimes where we create like a folklore and pretend it's true that if you win all your home games, you get promoted. Where does that come from? Where's the proof that is always true? Or if you score this amount of goals, you're going to get promoted no matter what. Guess what? We did it last season and we didn't go up. It seems to me that we look for silver bullets sometimes, or like a narrative that sort of fits it. For me, I just look and I'm seeing the same DNA with different players. It's different players in the team, and it's the same exact trajectory, the same exact time of the season, same exact teams we're playing against. And I'm thinking, how is this not a management problem? It seems like a management problem.
Who do you, Gabe, you said there about, players giving us bite there. Other than Rodon, who else do you think gives it some, gets their foot in.
Oh, you mean like
Gets
just
a bit
like a
aggressive.
big tackle? Oh, I think we are missing having our captain.
We haven't got enough, have
Midfield.
we?
Yeah, no, I agree. Although, to be honest, I think the game has changed a little bit. I don't know a lot of teams playing elite football that have a lot of those players. I don't know that Sheffield has a lot of those players either. Sheffield United. Burnley seems to be that kind of team because, they can't really play attacking football. But for me, I mean, there are players like Gilivogi who throughout his career could do that. I think Gruev at times does get stuck in. I think the mentality of the attacking players can be physical, good, and engaging. For me, I just don't see. I see evidence of tired players, not unmotivated players.
I'll tell you what, for Sheffield United, I think is a big blow. It'd be interesting to see if he's back tomorrow. Is Vinny Souza, because he was missing the last game, and for me, he's one of the best central midfielders I've seen live this season. I felt like he really bossed the midfield. He's got a voice on him. He likes to get in players' heads. He likes to stand on their toes. He's a big physical guy, and I feel like he would be perfect in our midfield as like a sort of a sitter for like a Rothwell or Tanaka to sort of orchestrate the play a little bit. But he is the ideal player that we kind of looking for in that midfield, because Rothwell and Tanaka are two pretty central midfielders. They don't really have any sort of bite about them. They don't want to go in and get in anybody's faces kind of thing. They're not like a Sam Morsey of Ipswich who's a yellow card merchant. We barely get a player booked in a game. Do you know what I mean? We are literally on for the fair play record again, I think, this year. We literally need somebody
Tom, I think there's a reason as well. Ampadu's going to every single game as well. You always see him coming off the coach first. I think he's going in there for just a little bit of bite and inspiration, and captain tendencies, because we don't really have it, do we? It's quite. You look at Strauch as the leader, really, and it's not really. He doesn't really give you those captain tendencies, does he?
No, not at all. Not at all. I think when the news came out at Sheffield United that Ampadu had got that injury and he was going to be out for the season, that really sort of was a bittersweet moment, beating Sheffield United that night and knowing that Ampadu was going to be out for the season. I just thought that could be a real sort of game changer for us kind of thing. And I think in these sorts of games that we should be winning. This is going to happen to us, by the way, on every other away game coming up. Luton, what else we got? Oxford, all fighting for their lives. That means they'll have something to actually play for. These teams, QPR and Portsmouth, they've got nothing to play for.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, knowing that they're fighting for survival, it's just going to be, I mean, hopefully the pressure then adds to them and it sort of works in our favour a little bit. I'm trying to make myself feel better here. But
and Tom, we have everything to play for. I don't understand why our players don't get out there and be like, right, this is our chance to take the league by
promotion
the
is at
Let's
stake.
Stand on their necks. We just don't do it. We don't do it. I don't get it.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it is interesting when you look at the ones left, because you'd probably look at Burnley's, right? And you'd look at them probably having the toughest fixtures, 100%, in terms of quality of opponent. But you do look at ours, and I do look at Swansea at home and think that's, a decent fixture for Leeds.
Yeah.
Look at Preston at home. They are just a bit of a shithousey team, so I do slightly worry about them, but I think we'll be okay there. Stoke's another one where you look at it and think that should be all right, but Stoke is still in that relegation fight. Plymouth, it could go all the way down to the last day. Bristol City have looked really, really good recently.
Really good.
Yeah. Middlesbrough still chasing those playoffs. We've mentioned Luton as well, and Oxford all fighting off relegation. It's coming to a point of which now, and obviously I think it's because Leeds have won 5 points in 12, which isn't like our seasonal average. It's like suddenly, obviously, that seasonal average has dropped in terms of points. We're all kind of looking at it, and understandably as a fan base, because we did this last year, didn't we? We turned around last year and went, it's all right, we're on this amount of points. But it's that transition into this season where it's not like we're seeing the same things, but I think there is a considered understanding from the fan base that we have seen a little bit of a drop-off from what we were. And I think it is just that worry from all of us, really, that it's only seemed to kick him in the nuts today, really, when he's seen Willian Yonto for 45 minutes, that can happen with rotation. Obviously, we saw Ramazani come on for 5 minutes and 50 seconds, and I understand it disrupted things a little bit, but it's almost like this is where he's got to really utilize that wheelhouse of players he's got, because
think about what we're saying, Connor. Think about what we're actually
Yeah,
saying,
but
literally
Gabe,
out loud. We're saying that an experienced manager now learns that substitutes can impact them.
And Gabe, and I understand that, Gabe. But I was on the watch long today, and I was on the Instant Match Reaction. And I was doing a little bit on the second channel as well, and the comments were consistently, "Connor C, this is why we said that we needed to do something in January." And my simple response to that was, guys, he's used his bench today effectively. He's used it at halftime, of which he's barely done this season. And we've seen games this season, lads, haven't we? Very few and far between, but we've seen games where we're not doing that well in the first half, and he's left it for 20 minutes, and the game is still the exact same, and then he makes the changes. He was proactive today. He made that change, and instantaneously you saw a huge difference in Leeds. And I think that's when now, and even in the post matches, like that's Willie's best 45 minutes. I was thinking before the game, should I replace Willie Gnonto with Aronson? Well, it's like, well, these are the moments, Farker. These are the moments where you've got to do that before the game, because albeit it has been top of the division, goal difference fantastic, a decent run in, it's my dad always says this, it's a cat's cock air now. It's that narrow now. It is that narrow between us all. It's not, we don't have this like gargantuan chasm between us and the other teams now. It's right in the mix all the way till the end of the season. And I think Matt's spot on. I think now, I had a prediction about 4 weeks ago when I was doing a sportsman shoot. I said, we're going to finish 10 points ahead of third. I thought at the time we were 5 points ahead. The other teams had tricky fixtures. I thought we were going to, make that difference even greater. That's not happening. It still might change, but Farker now, this is the point, isn't it, lads? This is the point. He's done so well so far, but we cannot let this happen again. I think that's the worry from the fan base right now. Whoever wants to chop in there, it was quite a monologue.
We'd be 6 points clear if we even took average results against below average teams, at least. So I fully agree. And look, we can talk about business should have been done in January. I love this now. Oh, we didn't back him in January. Okay, so who's better than Ramazani that we could have gotten into the championship?
Yeah.
Who's better than Gnonto?
I generally think that I didn't have a massive issue with Farker not going into the market in January. I do think it's an overpriced market. You end up with trash like Tom Cannon, for example, who they ended up paying 10 million quid for, who now can't get in the Sheffield United team, who's now struggling with injuries. It's the exact thing. It's the exact same thing. You end up with an overpriced player who essentially is not going to serve you well if you actually make promotion. Essentially, we've saved ourselves an extra 10, 15 million quid to go out and buy a really good player in the summer who can really fit into the mold of our team without having to panic and potentially ruin rupture the apple cart a little bit in terms of bring a new person in, shift out the person that's sort of got us to where we have been. I didn't have an issue with that. I think Aronson's been really hot and cold, and I understand, yes, he gives us legs. And I think Farker mentioned this in his post-match, actually, the fact that he was potentially looking at bringing Gnonto in today. Had Gruev started, he wouldn't have played Gnonto because he would have then lost the legs. I think he said something in and around that. He's sort of like looking for where he's losing legs, he's then making legs up elsewhere kind of thing. So he's almost using the balance of the team to decide who he plays in which games and stuff. But I don't think he's tried Gnonto enough to even warrant that comment, because who even knew that 45 minutes would be enough time for a sub to impact a game?
Reducing teams to anatomical parts. So I lose some legs there, and I get. I just can't do it.
We're not playing.
There's not enough Prozac in the world to make me feel better about this.
We're not playing FIFA Ultimate Team where you remove one player and you go from a 90 team to a 94 team because you've added a different attribute elsewhere. It's bollocks.
Yeah, absolute crap.
We're all Wednesday, aren't we? Says Liam. Cheers for the donation, mate. But just to ruin your mood here, Tom. Sheffield United have just put a post up of Vinny Souza smiling. They put it up about 6 minutes ago, so he's definitely going to be featuring. Quite an interesting tactic from Chris Wilder, because I've spoken to a couple of Sheffield United fans, and they just say they never know what players are fit, what players are not fit, and none of them ever know the team, because Wilder basically will just lie. He'll just lie to the press, and then it keeps everybody second guessing. You think that's a real simple tactic, don't you? But not a lot of managers seem to deploy it. FFS, for fuck's sake, says it was always these games I worry about. We still have 4 of the bottom 6 to play. We simply can't embarrass ourselves. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? When you're looking at that, Matt, 4 of the bottom 6, he's got to be maximum points, hasn't it? As Gabe's quite rightly said, Matt, they might have stuff to fight for, but we're not in 12th, and we've got nothing to play for ourselves. This is we need to get up. We need, and by the way, it's not playoffs for us; it's automatic. So as much as you're looking at this narrative, is baffling, isn't it? Because I was speaking to my old man about it today, and he said it to me. He went, "Connor, well, they've all got something to fight for." I said, "Dad, look at the wage structure at this club. Look at, and you can genuinely take January out of it, because now you've just got to look at our squad in comparison to the teams that we're facing. Look at our squad in comparison to the teams that we're facing, the quality we can bring on, the quality they can bring on, the starting 11 difference.
Not even close.
We've got 8 games now. We've got an international break for pause, for recovery, for recuperation, Matt. My goodness, there's got to be so much, surely, like vigor in the lads to go for it and really, be up for these games.
Yeah, I mean, these are all must wins now, and I just think the mentality thing. And I was bleat on about mentality, but most of these guys know what happened last season as well. So you just think that clicks them into not wanting to be in that position, not wanting to be in the playoffs, and just kicking on and just finishing it off. I just think, I'll be honest, that last couple of results, I kind of could deal with on reflection. The result today has got me worried. Like I've said it. I'm not a meltdown, but it's got me stuttering now as to how we're going to finish and how we're going to do. Now, remember that international break has ballsed us up before. It has, and I know we've said we have got a better squad than last season when it happened. But I'm just a little bit worried now about what happens after that international break. Will we be right on it, into gear, mentally switched on to finish this off? I don't know how many players we've got going away that are in our starting lineup. I'm not 100% sure.
It's like Tom said, you're getting Firpo and Tanaka going over 1,000 miles, aren't you?
Yeah, and I'm hoping that doesn't impact us, but it might. It's happened before.
I don't think Aronson's not been picked. Shocking.
No, he
so
hasn't.
We'll still have him.
Yeah, it's great.
What's the relief?
I think the good news is isn't Patrick Bamford back in full training?
Oh, thank God! Thank God! What?
So that's a positive.
Matt, are you? Is anybody else reading the comments and saying, I don't know why you're whinging about Farke. We're in first place and we've got the strong team in that. It's like the complaints are about January. Listen, if anybody's a student of history and learned about the war in Vietnam, having the better army doesn't mean you win. You know what I mean? Like management sort of matters.
What a strange reference.
It's not a strange reference. It's not a strange reference.
It's just okay.
I'm scarred by being in a position of favoritism and not winning over and over and over because we think, oh, we've got more than enough. Oh, we're doing fine. It's fine to drop results against a poor, weak team because at the end of the day, we've got more in the tank. It doesn't.
Gabe, simmer down. Helen says, Burnley beat Portsmouth. Didn't beat Portsmouth at Portsmouth. True, Helen, but they didn't lose either. But you are right, Helen. It's not. Look, we're still top of the division, Helen. And I think that's the big thing that is always that I've always found that dynamic when you're coming on, and maybe there's a little bit of a grey area. It's not black, it's not white. I'm not saying that Leeds are going to completely blow up now. I don't think any of us are. Apart from Gabe, but I know that it's not one of those. But you do have to sort of dissect maybe a little bit of worry on these fan channels because it is a fan forum. We have to talk about these things. I can't just come on here and us just have this conversation and discourse about everything being fine when at this moment in time there's been a little bit of a drop off. Paul says, to be fair, I wouldn't have made any changes to the attack today because we know James, Solomon, and Peru can do a bit of magic. I would have done Paul. I would have done today just because of what we saw from Dan James the other night. I mean, Tom, would you have made a change as well, mate? It just felt like he was absolutely cooked, wasn't he, against Millwall?
Yeah, he was absolutely shattered. And I even think back to the Sheffield United game, and we were looking at him, and he was sort of limping around. I'm thinking, Dan James has done it. And then he's just refused to. I think he brought him off the stoppage time in against Millwall, which was really nice for him. So he got like a 3-minute rest in that game. But I just think the I generally think from Matt's point, I don't think our reaction after the international break can do us any harm. I really don't, because the last 3-4 games we have not played well. The performances can only improve after this. I think just having a different I generally think he trusts Bamford more than Joseph. I generally think he does, and I think when he comes back in those games where Bamford gets a lot of flack, and he's made of chocolate, isn't he? And but he's got an experienced head to lead the line, and he showed in that run of games last season that.
Tom, do you think he'll play? Tom, do you think he'll?
No, I don't think he'll play. I don't think he'll play, but I think he will be used. I generally think he will be utilised in the last 8 games, and I think with him being back in training, I think. I generally think Farke will utilise him because he does like him a lot, and I think he says this a lot in his interviews. And he will just give us something that a little bit more. Well, he gives the hold-up play that Pirro just doesn't do. Yeah. People will kick me down to the ground in my WhatsApp group because they despise Bamford. But I always remember the good memories he gave us in the Prem, and I still think he can give us a little bit of a parting gift before he probably leaves.
Right, Tom, well, this is the end for you, mate. Thanks for coming up now.
I think Tom is. Look, we'll take him anywhere we can get it.
No,
he's probably right.
What I will say with what Tom's just said then as well is, you look at those balls across the box. You look at those balls across the box today.
Bamford might miss them, mate, but at least he's there.
At least he's there. I mean, I was absolutely every single time on the watch on the balls going in, I'm saying, where on earth? Where's Peru? Just put, that's where we need you to be, mate. And he's just obviously he's hanging back. So that's his style. I understand that, but then play Peru with Joseph. Then play Peru with Joseph. It's the options. You 100%. By the way, in 100%, you could put Solomon in that number 10. Ramazani played in the 10 against Sheffield United. Nonto played in the 10 against Sheffield Wednesday, and he played in the 10 today. There are players. Peru can play in that 10. There are players who can play. There's not a specialist number 10. You didn't have a specialist number 10 at Norwich. You put Marco Stiepermann into the number 10.
And when he had one in the Bundesliga, he didn't do well with them.
Well, but this is what I'm saying. So it's not, you don't always need. Aronson is not a specialist number 10, for Christ's sake. So look, it is what it is. William just said last year we folded playing QPR. At least we got a point this year. That is true. That is true. I mean, that's a polish on it, I guess. FFS says that added time today was so Sunday League. I mean, mate. I mean, look, on this channel we don't talk about it a lot. In fact, it's so rare. It probably makes up 2% of this channel in terms of talking about the officiating at this level. It is an abomination. It is so bad. I mean that. Midweek, you had Burnley getting 11 minutes added on. You had Sheffield United getting 13 minutes on. There was 6 added on minutes today, of which they had 2 players going down. They had Saito sent off, and it was blown on 96 minutes. And and I know we're getting ourselves into this situation, but when the ball is in play in the last 15 minutes for about 3 minutes, you're not able to build up any sort of rhythm, any sort of fluidity. So, look, I never complain about that normally. But, Matt, I mean, I can see you about to speak, mate. It was abhorrently bad, wasn't it, today, the referee?
No, it was a disaster. The added time, the time wasted, the referee not adding time was an absolute joke. Although I do think now, again, I don't think we can use excuses now.
No.
The 12:30 kickoff, the refs, although they're disgusting, the time wasting.
Leeds been the biggest team as well. That's kind of like where we all roll out as well, isn't it?
Them all playing against us, but we have got to have that mindset. Forget all that. We've got the squad. We're top of the league. We've got to win it. We are going to face those sorts of challenges and walls against us all the time because of who we are, because of how crap referee is. Like I said, the 12:30 kickoffs, which were done over by Sky every time. We know why. But we've got to put all that aside. That's the other thing that I want to say about being positive going forward and must wins. Forget all that noise. We know we're good. We're top of the league. So we should be just using that for our mentality that everyone's against us. We don't want to be in this league next season, and just steamrolling with that attitude. That's what I want to see between now and the end of the season. And I know we won't get away. We won't pull away. I said that earlier. But I just want us to use that now, with so many few games remaining, just to take it as a motivator as well. If that's what they need, the players as well.
Matt,
everyone's against us. Let's just Finish it.
Matt, there's a lot of people as well saying that 5 wins does it. 5 wins takes us to 95 points. By the way, I'm getting a little bit. I know it's 10 goal difference, but Burnley are closing this goal difference very, very quickly. Can we just shore up at the back, please, and keep scoring a lot of goals? Because, or go back to scoring a lot of goals, because I'm not liking Burnley closing this goal difference.
I quite agree with that as well, Connor. By the way, what he's saying, those are weak excuses, incredibly weak excuses. Oh, the kickoff time's at noon.
No, I know. There's some odd, weird correlation, and it's like I think that's more of an us thing than it's not.
The referee's a Sagittarius. It really messed up. I mean, come on, who cares?
But is it? I mean, Matt, would 5 wins do it for you? I mean, that takes us to 95 with surely a better goal difference. But look, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I remember getting
thinking just 5. Why are we thinking just 5 wins though? It's like let's
bare
just
minimum.
think. Yeah, let's just think. Yeah, I agree, Gabe. Just think that's kind of minimum. Let's try and win them all, and stop using excuses that that's just enough or a draw was good enough.
It's copium, mate.
Points overall.
It's copium.
I know, and it helps us get through the day or the evening or the weekend. But I've said this before. It's funny about it. I just have that want to win. And I know we won't win them all. We'll drop points, but why don't we just go to win it all rather than have must?
And it's not like we're playing Sheffield United every week. We're playing Swansea. We're playing Luton. We're playing
teams,
Preston, Oxford, Stoke, Bristol City, and Plymouth. Like, come on. We should win most of these games. Middlesbrough is maybe the only one I'd say, well, we dropped that one. We should win every game.
I think
be fighting for every game.
I think my only thing as well, look, when we move back to January, I think Ramazani is one that I've just got to talk about. Look, when he came on for Solomon, I do think it disrupted the flow a little bit. Like you've seen with Nonto today, when Nonto gets more minutes, when Laji Ramazani, who at that time, we were all talking about him being one of the best players in the division, pre-injury when he was given minutes. Since he's been out, lads, I clocked it today when I came off stream. I think it's something like... It might be 16, 17 games when he's been back available. He's had 132 minutes.
He probably did a step over in training or celebrated a goal in a way that Farka didn't like.
But it's simply that is what you've got off the bench. You know, that is what you've got off the bench. And you look at Nonto today, what he did, the quality that he brought, how he protected the ball, the orientation, his positioning, how quality he was in terms of pass accuracy, efficiency with just a couple of shots that he had as well. The quality on the bench is massive, isn't it? You know, you can go all the way but down to Isaac Schmidt. You know, if you want to change it on the right-hand side and you wanted to bring some fresh legs on, someone who's almost going to act as a winger as well, you've got quality all of the pitch. Gruev, if you want to change things in a certain way as well. But for me, it is just Laji Ramazani is the one where I kind of look at and I'm thinking that cannot be missed out in terms of us utilising his full potential with 8 games to go.
Yeah, I mean, playing football myself, I know that if you were to come on as a sub, you don't play the same way as if you were, say, for example, brought on at half-time or brought on with 30 minutes to go. You try to do something like you try to make a bit of a rush decision to try and make an impact on a game where Nonto worked his way into the game. He got onto the ball. He started popping passes around. I feel like when Ramazani gets on the ball, everything's rushed. He feels like he's got to make an instant impact to try and give himself a chance of maybe starting or getting longer the next game. I genuinely think that his lack of minutes, obviously, yes, he's not sharp in terms of match fitness because he doesn't get any. But when he comes on, he's having to do something sort of extraordinary. Yeah, exactly. Literally extraordinary to give himself a chance, and he's literally got 4 or 5 minutes to do that, and he feels like when he gets the ball he's got to do something and tries to sort of rush that decision. I mean, that header was sort of prime example today. I mean, he just sort of rushed it. And
Tom, do you think they just look knackered today?
I think they generally just look knackered. Like
I do. I think they look beat at the minute. I think not beaten as in like, you know, one midweek and stuff and all that, but I think it feels right now that we needed this. I'd actually be probably not worried as such, but I'd be a little bit tentative if we had Swansea on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday now, because I think it'd be a right slog. I think we'd really have to grind it out.
Yeah, Agreed. Yeah, I think this international break genuinely has come at the best possible time. I don't think there can be a negative from it other than, say, Tanaka comes back. And I think the way it falls, somebody put it on Twitter, is that he would get back at like midday or early morning on the Friday, and we would then play Swansea on the Saturday. So he's barely got 24 hours kind of thing. So are you then going to see a Gruev Rothwell partnership for that game kind of thing? So
if we drop points after Tom, you'll see those people rolled out and say, "Oh, we always drop points after international break."
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, there should be no excuses. We have the best players, and the reason we have the best players is because they're internationals and they're going to play for their countries. But there can be no excuses now. I mean, I saw a tweet again earlier. A Sheffield United fan was moaning that their game had been brought to a 12:30 kickoff in Plymouth, and I don't know when they play them. Obviously before we do, because obviously ours is the last game, but they've got a game against Plymouth that's been brought forward from a 3 p.m. to a 12:30. So we can't keep using that excuse because other teams are doing it, and Sheffield United will probably go down there and do the job.
Crumb of comfort then. I mean, it's as I say, we kind of have to talk about the game, and that's what cheers, Paul. And we are trying to talk about it a little bit. I don't want to come across as overly negative. I don't think we have done, lads. I don't think it's one of those. It's frustration after today. I guess the only thing, and I think Matt's bang on, and Matt, I'll come to you again for this, mate. It's resilience in it. I mean, how it went last season, and I know what Gabe's saying in terms of comparisons from last season, but how it went last season, it was 1, it was 2, and then we completely capitulated. They started running us ragged. Willock, Cher, I mean, he was out today, wasn't he? But they tore us apart, and we couldn't get to grips with them. At least we kind of came back into it, didn't we? And there was one team that was going to well, actually, I say there was one team that was going to win it at the end. Those long throws, the balls into the box, Pascal last minute tackle. It was probably a little bit more 50-50 than we thought. And I think there's been a QPR fan in the comment section, actually, Owen, who's been on the channel before. QPR fan here, very good game today. Just a quick one from Liam as well. Con, they put a photo up of Hamer a few days before our game, and he was on the bench. X means nothing. Fair enough, mate. And that added time as well was Sunday League. So, yeah, maybe it was a fair result, but, mate, if you'd have told me we'd have got a point at 35 minutes, I'd have said, nah, I can't see that. I can just see him getting maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah, but if we had told you 5 weeks ago that we would drop points to QPR and Portsmouth, you would have been angry. Yeah, but if you'd have also told me that we'd have picked up maximum points against Coventry, Watford, Sheffield United, and Sunderland, I'd have said that wouldn't happen. So
yeah, I think that key word was resilience today. The positive thing were 2-0 down last season or even earlier, we would have folded and never got back into it. And that would have been over. So yeah, that is a positive. But the problem we've got is we don't want to be in that position in the first place. And then it was too late to get back into it, I think, even with Nonto coming on. So yeah, I'm not happy with the draw today. I just don't think we should be putting ourselves in that position. That last 3 minutes, you remind me, Connor, I was actually hitting myself because strike played bad, but when that ball went in, that tackle he did, to be fair, that was superb. Because I don't know what was going in or what, I don't know. But
as Roy Keane would say, Matt, it's his job.
It's that guy who looked like he looked like, I kept saying it on the watch long, he looked like that trolley guy out of Hot Fuzz. The ones like Yarp, him, the guy up top. Like, Jesus
Uncle
Christ.
Festa.
Yeah. And Uncle Festa was the ref. Jesus Christ. I thought it was pathetic today. As a fan, you have standards, and I fully expect us to be. I like it, Matt. Like Matt, we Leeds United, mate. We need to have big standards. We need to have proper standards. And you look at the team that we've got. I'll be honest with you. And look, football's subjective. I sometimes struggle on here a little bit because I think the expectation of this team is down there when it should be up there with everything we've spent on this squad. And the manager we have, who's won 2 championships, has accrued more points than any other championship manager in history. And sometimes I see our standards been down here. I'm hearing, before the game, consistently, you can't take Aronson out. He's had one assist. He's got 2 now after that QPR one, but he's had 1 assist in 2025.
You can take out anybody. We have a pretty deep, maybe not anybody, but you can take out most players. We have a pretty deep team.
Of course we do. So looking at Sheffield Wednesday, tomorrow. Obviously, I don't know if you know, but lads up top, but Tom's brother is actually a massive Sheffield United fan, which is hilarious in itself. But so the brotherly banter there must be on a knife edge. But I think, I mean, I flip-flopped a little bit, but it just feels like this weekend is going this weekend's way, which is just the Leeds United way. I think they're going to beat them. So I think Sheffield United are going to beat them.
Tom, how many times has it come to blows between you and your brother about it?
Well, we both want Leeds and Sheffield up, essentially. And we just want Burnley out of this equation pretty sharpish.
All
but
right.
it's definitely not going to go that way. Yeah, I generally think Burnley could pip Sheffield United. Genuinely, I generally think they could. They look the strongest team now, and with a bit of luck, this international break knocks them and not anybody else.
Well, I watched that game today, and once again, they're scoring 2 goals, and they look so comfortable. It was so easy for them. Yeah. It was so easy, that game from at Swansea. It was fifth gear, and they look like just a much more physical, athletic team. Swansea look pathetic. So hopefully that's a bit of hope for us, I guess. But
hey, remember, Jaden Anthony not good enough for Leeds.
That's the thing. You'd take all of our wingers over him, though, wouldn't you? Let's be honest.
You would, but the point is, again, we had a really good player on the bench last season who couldn't see any time.
Yeah, well,
dropped off.
So obviously the other one was Spence on it as well, who's doing all right in the Prem. Arthur says 2-2 draw. So what are you thinking? I'm going Sheffield United win for this one, 1-0. I think, even though I flip flopped on it.
I'm going 2-2.
Ooh, I like it, Matt.
Well, I said 2-2 one of your other streams, Connor, but after today, Sheffield United will steamroll Sheffield Wednesday.
Gabe, you think it's something similar, Gabe?
As Tony said, a page out of the great Conor McGilligan's playbook, Sheffield 2-1.
Yeah, 2-1. Always an easy one. 5-0. Paul says, "Well, I mean, I can't. I don't know why Ron here predicting that. What are you doing for it, Tom? Are you watching it with your brother, or what are you doing?"
I'll be watching. I might not even watch it, to be honest. I think I get more stressed. So the other night when Leeds played on the Wednesday, I had Sheffield United on in the lounge and Burnley on in the kitchen, and just walking from room to room. And the missus was like, "Will you sit down?"
I won't tell everyone what you sent me after 35 minutes today, mate. Don't worry.
Yeah, let's keep that quiet, mate.
Keep that quiet. But we'll leave it there, everybody. Do us a favor. Make sure you slap a like on the video. Make sure as well you subscribe to the second channel, where we will be doing a Wednesday and Sheffield United watch along. It's been an absolute pleasure. And we will be back after the international break with another fans forum. Me, Gabe, and Brownie will be back tomorrow night as well. Check out your 3 things as well tomorrow morning. It's been an absolute pleasure. See you in a bit.